And welcome everyone. I'm Aaliyah Walker, your host with Lori Gardner, and we're excited to show you how Apsona helps teams across industries uncover insights and boost productivity using Salesforce data. So no matter how complex your data model is, Apsona reporting can help with that. We are recording today's session and we'll provide it following the webinar. If you have any questions, put those in the chat. It will save time at the end to give you some answers. Here's a brief overview of Apsona. Apsona has been in the Salesforce ecosystem for over 13 years with a 4.9 rating on the App Exchange. Apsona serves organizations of all sizes and across more than 10 industries. If I were to give like a one sentence blurb on what Apsona is, what we do, Apsona is designed to complement Salesforce's functionality, enhancing your productivity, streamlining workflows, and enabling users to make data-driven decisions with ease. Our mission is to really empower users by giving them control over their data, all from one intuitive platform we call Apsona. Before we get started, a quick intro. I'm Aaliyah Walker. I lead our communication strategy. So from creating content, managing newsletters and social channels, I also help coordinate events like this one. So it's always exciting to see people show up and want to learn about Apsona. So with that, I'll hand it over to Lori.
Hi, everyone. Lori Gardner, Solution Engineer at Apsona. You probably heard me saying that I was in love with Apsona because of multi-step reports. That happened when I, like you, was at an organization that migrated to Salesforce, and I very quickly discovered and fell in love with Apsona, and here I am.
So it's great to have Lori on the team. All right, so let's take a moment and talk about what makes Apsona reporting stand out. If you're working in Salesforce, your org probably includes a mix of standard and custom objects. You've got opportunities, activities, donations, events, maybe even student records or grant data. These objects often have complex relationships that don't always fit into Salesforce's native reporting model. Native reports can be quite limiting. I'm sure that's why lots of people are using a tool like Apsona, especially when you need to report across multiple objects that aren't directly related through lookups, or when you're trying to apply some logic-driven filters or even calculations. And if you've ever tried scheduling a Salesforce report to someone outside of Salesforce, you know it's not exactly straightforward. They have to have a Salesforce license, and you only get a few people that you can schedule that out to, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where Apsona comes in. Apsona offers purpose-built reporting power designed specifically to overcome those limitations. With cross-object report access, without coding, you can report across a number of objects, even if they aren't directly related. Our simple UI supports complex logic. You can use nested filters, conditions, relative date logic to get just the right records without having super technical expertise. You can also customize your report layout to group, sort, hide columns, and summarize data just like a spreadsheet, but right inside of Salesforce. And finally, reports are for everyone. With Apsona, you can schedule reports and send them automatically to internal teams or external stakeholders, even if they don't have a Salesforce login. So it's really all about giving you flexibility, control, and clarity without the technical headache. Apsona's reporting power isn't just one size fits all. It's flexible enough to support the specific data models and workflows across different Salesforce clouds. So let's kind of walk through some examples of how that plays out. For nonprofit customers, Apsona makes it easy to combine donation history, campaign performance, and program participation into one comprehensive report. This is incredibly useful for development teams who need to prepare for donor meetings or for board updates, where a holistic view of data impact is critical. Then you've got Education Cloud, where we often see a need to report across the student life cycle, from attendance to outreach to gift history. Apsona lets you do this without building roll-ups or needing to create custom relationships, really saving you time and keeping your data model clean.
And Aaliyah, I would also just add specifically with the nonprofit cloud and education cloud, the person account model and the complexity of the relationship between the account and the contact and gift information is like it's pretty in depth, and having a tool like Apsona where you can really customize how those objects are connected together in a report is really critical.
Thank you, Lori, for your expertise.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Thank you. So for organizations using Experience Cloud, reporting can mean pulling together activity data from portals, case study updates, custom feedback forms. Apsona lets you bring all of that into one report to get a complete and clear picture of user data, whether it's internal users or partner communities. Then in Service Cloud, support leaders can use Apsona to report across cases, service milestones, agent performance, and even knowledge-based usage. The report is a true 360-degree view of service effectiveness, which is key for identifying trends and improving response times. So all of that I just said, no matter your data model department, Apsona fits how you work and gives you the insights you need without requiring complex configuration or development.
And just to add on to what Aaliyah said, I mean, we've listed a lot of the flavors of Salesforce here, but really, Apsona is completely data model agnostic. So if you're on any of the managed packages, like the Kindsight Ascend model or AffiniQuest, there's the specific data model really doesn't matter. Apsona works with all of them.
Now you get to see it in action.
So yeah, just to quickly highlight some of the things that I'm going to show, and then I'm going to show them, which kind of seems silly. Like Aaliyah was kind of alluding to this, one of the most challenging aspects of reporting in Salesforce is getting all the data that you need in one report. And Apsona conquers that challenge with the multi-step report tool. And you're like, what is multi-step reports? What is a step? Well, I'll definitely show you that. But some of the highlights is, cross-object reporting, multi-steps, multi-object reporting, filter capability that goes way beyond what you have in Salesforce standard reports. You can also group data, create summaries. Calculated fields are not just for calculations, they can be super powerful. You have the ability to share the reports either via exporting, scheduling, lots of different options there. Also just making reports accessible on Salesforce record pages. And why? Saving time. It works with any data model. We just said that multiple times. And delivering insights to your users who don't log into Salesforce. This, I think, is more important than one would realize. Like Aaliyah was saying, when you create a subscription to a Salesforce report, you have to be a user in Salesforce. So if you have information that you need to share outside of your Salesforce user population with maybe volunteers or board members, or even just people in other campus offices outside of the Salesforce user group, there's really no way to do that. And with Apsona's scheduler, you can do that. So I'm gonna steal sharing and I'm gonna jump right in. Replace current. Okay, I'm assuming that I'm sharing. You can all see my screen. You're looking at Apsona. For everyone, it sounds like when I was asking the question earlier, a lot of newbies for Apsona, maybe some familiarity. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about just general navigation and all the things Apsona, but just to kind of get us all on the same page. Apsona is accessed as a tab like you would other Salesforce objects or features. And then once you're in the Salesforce, the Apsona environment, you see another set of tabs that are objects that you have access to and some Apsona specific menus. That's all configurable and is based on the permissions that you have in Salesforce. So the objects that you can see in Salesforce, you can also see in Apsona. In addition to being a kick-ass reporting tool, there are some data management features of Apsona as well that we're not going to get into here, but that's where having access to those objects in Apsona comes into play. For today, it's like a little teaser for another webinar on data management. For today, though, we're focused on reporting. So what we're looking at is I've selected from the reporting tools menu the multi-step reports object. So what is a step? What does that mean? Steps are approximately objects, but there's different types of steps that you can create. I'm going to take an existing report and just show you the kind of the guts of this report. So I've selected to edit an existing report. You can see just kind of at a quick glance down the left side, I've got a whole bunch of different steps on this report, the name, the folder, a little description, and then within each step, I have a series of tabs. On the first tab, this is where I'm selecting the object that I'm using. And notice there's a couple different types of steps. They're not just database objects. I can also create a step with calculations using other fields that I've already included in my report, or combining two earlier steps. And I'm not going to get into that too much today, but it basically gives you the ability to create two different populations based on completely different criteria and then combine them together. So once I've selected my object on my second tab, here's where I'm selecting the fields that I want to see in my output. Not my selection criteria, just what are the pieces of information, what are the columns that I want to see displayed. Then on my third tab, this is where I'm specifying the filter. This is which records I want to be included in my output. And something, just a quick tip here. Generally speaking, your population is completely determined by the filters on your first step. The first step determines which records get included in the output. All the subsequent steps is simply adding information to this population. So here, these are the most critical filters for determining what are the records that will show up when I click find. Now, caveat, there are exceptions to that rule. There's a lot of very creative ways that you can use hidden steps and combining steps, but we're not going to get into that. So, but I do want to talk a little bit about your filter options. A couple of things I want to point out here. No, a whole bunch of things I want to point out here. For one, notice that I've selected, back on step one, I selected the contact object, but one of my filters is on the account object. If I click in here to see all the available objects that I can create a filter on, notice that, yeah, I do see the contact object, the one I started with, but below it, I see a whole bunch of other objects. I have the ability to filter not only on all the fields that are part of the object I started with, in this case, the contact object, but I can also filter on any child object or any parent object, meaning any object that contact has a one-to-one or lookup relationship with, and any other object that is a related list to the contact object. So I can access a whole lot here, not just contact fields. Also, the options that I see for my filter operator will change based on the data type of the field that I've selected. Notice that I see this in filter and not in filter option, and I've selected an existing filter. What this allows me to do is save a whole other set of criteria. There's a whole other set of filter terms behind this filter that I can save and use as like a saved population. So within any other filter, I can use a separate different filter. I also have a combination of and or criteria. So in this case, I want everyone who's not in the do not contact list. I also want only records that are assigned to me. And then I want either alumni and current parents or past parents who've given within a certain date range. So you can see I've got this combination of definitely has to be filter terms 1 and 2, and 3, or 4 and 5. And that's similar if you've been creating reports using the standard Salesforce reporting tool. That filter logic should be kind of familiar. I did also want to point out the ability to use relative dates. So in this case, I'm using a range. You can see I have the option of selecting a whole bunch of different relative ranges. I can also specify specific dates as well here. On my next step, I'm using the relationship object. So this step, again, same as the first step, I'm selecting the fields that I want to see displayed in the output. And ooh, here's a feature that it's such a simple little thing in Apsona, but it's such an amazing feature. This field that is labeled spouse name, if I click this little arrow, notice the actual name of the field is full name, but I relabeled it so that it's more clear what it is. I can rename any column heading, which is super useful. Again, if you've been creating reports using the standard Salesforce reporting tools, sometimes those field names are very long and not descriptive, and you have to make the column really wide to see the whole thing to understand what it is. So this is like, again, a simple little feature, but it's really useful. On my filter terms tab, I'm filtering for only spousal type relationships. And then on the linkage tab, I'm connecting this step to the first step, my contact step, by the contact ID. Now, I don't need any other filters here that limit which contacts are being retrieved, because just by creating this linkage, the relationships records that will be selected are already going to be limited by only the contacts that were returned in that first step. So I'm automatically filtering the second step by the contacts returned in step 1. Similarly, I've got I'm adding my account object to pull in some account details. Again, linked back to the contact step. Now, right here, if you've experimented with creating custom report types, you know that you have to create linkage in a linear fashion where you're joining from the first object to the second object to the third. You can't create multiple paths from the same object. And that's exactly what I've just done. We're linking from the contact to the spouse, but we're also linking from the contact to the account. Similarly, I'm now linking the opportunity object where, ooh, here's another fun feature. Instead of adding just the account object, I'm actually summing the amount object using the metrics section, where I can summarize it, whether, depending on the data type of the field, I can choose first, last, highest, lowest, sum, average, again, depending on whether it's a date or a number or a text field. I can count. Again, linking back to the contact, and I'm filtering this step using another relative date range, because I'm limiting this step to just current year giving. On my next step, I'm doing something similar where I'm reusing the opportunity object, another feature that you can't do in standard Salesforce reports, where I'm reusing the same object. I've got different filters. Now I'm looking at last year. I'm using the same columns. I'm just summing the amount. I'm linked back to the contact. Then I'm also using a calculated step where I've got a calculated field that calculates the difference between prior year giving and current year giving. I'm also, to show the most recent gift and most recent gift allocation, I'm using this range and sort tab to bring in only the one record that has the highest value of close date, i.e. the most recent gift. And again, linking back to my contact step. So let's run this report so you can kind of see what this all looks like, where I'm pulling in all this information from all these different objects and how it all aligns. So I can see here, this is my contact step. If I scroll over, those are all of the fields that I selected on retrieved fields. There's my spouse, there's the account information I brought in, current and prior year giving, my difference, my most recent gift and allocation, some other most recent stuff. Then, oh, what's this? Children one and children two? Gee, Lori, I didn't notice that you had two different children's steps on that report. You're right, I didn't. Let me show you. So if I go down to the children's step, again, I'm reusing an object, I'm reusing the relationship object, only this time I'm filtering for child relationships rather than spousal relationships. What I'm also doing is choosing to show this step in column blocks. So I'm seeing the records displayed horizontally as columns rather than no, vertically as columns rather than horizontal. You get the idea. You know what I mean. I'm not duplicating the contact if they have more than one child. And realistically, people have more than two children. You'd probably want to bump that up to like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever is appropriate for your data set. But then what I can also do with a calculated field, because you might be thinking, well, when I scroll over and look at those children's steps, I've got children one and children two, and already children two is taking up a lot of space. There's not that many contacts who have more than two children, or in your case, it might be 5, 10, whatever. I created a calculated field that pulls together all the information about the child that I want together. And if there's more than one, it's just concatenating those pieces of information together. So what I could do using this set columns option, I could actually hide all the fields in the children's steps so they're not taking up space. I've got a field that just pulls all that information together. Or if I was using this report as a source for a merge action, like an Excel spreadsheet output, I might just map this one field to a child column rather than multiple columns. Aaliyah, feel free to jump in if there's any questions. I did want to also point out, I think, let me run that again, just because I want to make sure that I pointed out when you run any report, we were mentioning the different ways that you can share information. Export, you can either export that to a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. Also, even easier, if I schedule this report, I can choose the date it starts, the time that I want it to send. Let's say I want to send it every week on Friday, so I'll start it tomorrow. I'm going to change my frequency to weekly, select Friday. And then in my delivery format, let's say we'll do that as a CSV. I want to send it to, and here is where, spelling counts if I can spell my own name right. I can just type in any email addresses I want here. They don't have to be users. And like I said, they can be, you have an unlimited number of recipients. I'd be curious to know how many, like what's the maximum any of our customers are sending to. But to my knowledge, there isn't a limit there. And again, they don't need to be Salesforce users. This can go out to anyone.
Lori, can
So,
I jump
oh
in?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm kind of working from the bottom up. Can you please show us real quick how you did that concat for the children?
I sure can. Great question. Love calculated fields. So what I did here, let me edit this so you can kind of see a couple of things. This looks really complex, but notice how like whenever you reference a field in a calculated field, you have to give it the name of the step followed by a dot followed by the name of the field itself. So the name of the field here that we want to bring together is related contact name. So I would reference that as children dot related space contact space name. But in the calculated field, because I've got this displayed as multiple column blocks, I actually have to reference each block individually. So the name is actually children one dot related contact name. And what I'm actually doing here is I'm combining both a condition, an if then else, and concatenating the name together. So first I'm testing, does the name even exist? That's this children one dot related contact name. And then the question mark after it is the then. And then if there is a name, I want the name plus if they have a class year, if their child is also an alum, then I want to see the little, I want the apostrophe and then the class year, but I'm also using the JavaScript slice method to get just the last two characters of the class year. Ooh, this is actually a really good one. This is a kind of a complex calculation because I'm using JavaScript methods. I'm also doing an if then else. So I'd be happy to share this with anyone who wants it. It's also included, we have a JavaScript documentation page. I'm not sure if specifically multiple column blocks are referenced in it, but that's basically how you get that. Are there questions? Was
Yeah,
that helpful?
a few. Let us know if that was helpful. And yes, we can get that to you, the concat.
You know what? I wonder if I can like copy it and paste it into the chat.
And I do have a few more questions. Can I apply different word templates to the mail merge based on different values? For instance, location or language, etc.
Oh, yes. So if I understand what you mean, what you're saying is when you launch a merge action, you want the template to be determined by a calculated field that is going to look at, oh, if the language equals this, then use this template, or if their constituent type equals this, then use this template. That's if I'm understanding the question correctly, then yes, you would just create that as a calculated field. And then it would just be, in fact, I think I have something like that in this. It's very simplified, but the template based on if it's an alum, then they get the alumni template. If not, they get the default template. When I run this in the merge action, you can see, sorry, I know we're probably getting into time. Then based on that calculated field, if the value is alumni template, then it uses this alternate template. If not, it uses the default template.
You know we are at time. Lori, can I share the resource slide?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm happy to like when I send the follow-up email to answer the leftover questions. I'll just go back to the chat and give you guys some answers. But at the end of the webinar, some people like to ask about resources and staying connected. So I want to provide a quick visual of some of the ways to stay connected and get supported at Apsona. You can join office hours for quick one-on-one help, attend the weekly demo sessions. If you're curious about a certain product or functionality, those are 45 minutes designed to answer your questions and show off Apsona capabilities. You can submit a case, browse our knowledge base or YouTube channel. We have a Trailblazer community. You can submit feature requests. And if you haven't already, sign up for our monthly newsletter. And we probably got lots of other questions. Okay.
I just pasted the concat logic. I don't know. I don't know if everyone can copy that from the chat. I don't know if it lets you do that. If not, let me know and I can send it to Aaliyah with the follow-up.
Oh, I see a hand. Oh, there are lots of great questions. We have a webinar that we did with Lori a while back about calculated fields. So
Back when I was a customer.
yes, literally. So yeah, I'm happy to get that to you guys as well. Or maybe we just need a part two. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Oh, please. So polite. Thanks, Taylor. You can copy
So
and paste. Okay, great. Thank you, Zara, for answering that.
awesome. Yeah, for that webinar, there was a recording for that. Similar recording about building reports. I'm trying to
I like the exaggerated more time.
Um, yes, okay. Great. I will get answers to your questions in just a few moments as the recording processes. But yeah, you'll find it on our YouTube channel. I'll send out an email. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
And for those of you who are interested in a calculated fields session, I'd love to know either just like respond back to Aaliyah's follow-up with like, what is a use case? What is a specific, or do you just want to like in general learn more about the capabilities of calculated fields, or are there specific use cases you have that you think a calculated field might solve the problem?
Great.
Ooh,
Thank you.
Eva, that is, oh, is that a W? Sorry, my glasses are like, is that Eva or Ewa? Learning curve for someone who never used Apsona. You know, that's such a difficult question to answer because it really depends on not just exposure to Apsona, but like how well do you know Salesforce? How do you have experience with other reporting tools or just like reporting in general, or just kind of the concepts of how objects are related to each other? And that really makes a difference.
Yes, the YouTube channel is great for starters. So start
Agreed. Thank
there and
you.
definitely join our weekly demos.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I know we've gone a little over time, but
Yes,
appreciate
sorry.
appreciate all of you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.